Well, friends, good evening. So let us start our today's class, and this is about legal aspects of accounts and audit in the context of Companies Act 2013. So in the context of a company, so we are learning the legal aspects of accounts as well as audit. And legal aspects of account we have already covered it in our previous two classes. Today we'll be entering into a new area, that is legal aspects of audit. I am going for screen sharing now. Please see, it will be visible in your screen. Just
Okay.
wait a minute. I trust it is visible now.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, this is what we are going to learn. This is chapter 10 of Companies Act 2013, which deals with audit. So it deals with, these are the sections from section 139 to 148, you can see. Right, and this deals with appointment of auditors, removal of the auditors, resignation of auditors. Okay, then eligibility, qualifications, remuneration. Then you can see it, powers and duties, and certain services which auditors should not render, they are also covered. Auditor to sign the audit report, auditor to attend general meeting, punishment for contravention, and central government to specify the audit, cost audit for certain class of companies. So these are certain requirements. All these sections may not be relevant for our syllabus. This is a very vast area, audit, legal aspects of audit. So we'll go at a very briefly at a very surface level. We'll touch upon most of these sections which are important from our syllabus point of view. Right. So first of all, yesterday I was explaining when you talk about the audit, this is what we call this kind of audit which we are going to learn here. This is about the statutory audit. Every company is statutorily required to appoint an auditor. That auditor is called as the statutory audit. First, we'll cover this thing: who are eligible to become statutory auditor of the company, and what are their qualifications, and what are the disqualifications of an auditor. That we need to learn. So for that thing, we have to look at this section 141. 141 subsection 1 says the person shall be eligible for appointment of an auditor only if he is a chartered accountant. The essence of this section is that only a chartered accountant can be appointed as auditor of a company. Most of you must be knowing this. And it is also possible to appoint a firm of chartered accountants, or it is also possible to appoint a firm or LLP where majority of the partners are chartered accountants. So first of all, to appoint someone as the auditor of the company, what is required? The person should be, what is the minimum qualification?
Should be a chartered accountant.
Be a chartered accountant. And also it says, provided that the firm whereof majority partners are practicing in India are qualified. And qualified means if the majority partners are chartered accountant, appointment is possible in the firm's name. Right? So individually one person can be appointed as auditor if he is a chartered accountant. Or if he is practicing in a firm, and in this firm, most of the partners, majority of the partners are chartered accountants, then appointment is possible in the name of the firm. Okay, appointment is also possible in the name of an LLP, that is limited liability partnership firm. Okay, this is the essence of section 141. That's the first thing we covered. Right, and here the subsection 3 talks about one more thing, that certain people are not eligible to be appointed as auditor of the company. First, who are they? One is body corporate. A body corporate, that means incorporated organization. That is, for example, a company cannot be appointed as auditor of a company, another company. Body corporate except LLP. LLP can be appointed as auditor of a company. That is what I told you just now. And then officers are employee of the company. So company's own officer or employee, if someone is working in a company as an officer, as an employee of the company, whether he can be appointed as auditor. Can he be appointed? Can you reply? Can some of you reply?
Yes.
A person who is
Hello, sir.
yeah, can he be
Sir,
appointed?
good evening, sir.
Good evening. Yeah.
Sir, sorry, sir. Due to we are writing down the notes, I
Yeah.
could not able to inform you. While I told sir, I will inform. Viswa sir told actually half an hour before only to inform you. One big problem, sir, major problem that it took time actually. So
Oh, I see.
he informed at 7:45 only. It will take another 10-15 minutes extra.
Okay.
But
now can we continue now?
Yes, sir. Class is completed, sir. So
Okay.
right now I joined. Sorry to interrupt in between. Okay, sir. We will continue, sir. Please.
Okay. So no issue, no issue. So just I understand. So very quickly I am recapitulating the things. Just a minute. Just a minute. So I was just briefing that we have to study now the legal aspects of audit. And the chapter 10 of Companies Act 2013 covers all the legal aspects of the audit, and these are the sections, relevant sections 139 to 148, and the relevant sections which deals with the audit, like appointment, removal, eligibility, remunerations, powers and duties, and certain services which are not to be rendered by the auditor. Okay, auditor has to sign the report, auditor has to attend general meeting. All these things are covered here. And this is a very vast area, in fact, so we are not going to cover all these things in detail. At a very brief and surface level, we will be covering this thing. If you are interested, you can pause the slide and you can later on, you can read it. Okay, you can understand. Entire thing is there in the slide. But here in the class, very quickly, I will be covering all these things. The first concept I was telling you that what is the eligibility or what is the qualification to become the auditor of the company. To understand that thing, we have to go through this section 141. Section 141, subsection 1 says a person can be appointed as an auditor or person is eligible to be an auditor of a company only if he is a chartered accountant. Okay, this is the legal aspect that only a chartered accountant can be appointed as the auditor. Now, this section also further provides that if firm where majority of the partners are chartered accountants can also be appointed as an auditor in the firm's name. So first of all, one chartered accountant as an individual can be appointed. He can also be appointed in the name of the firm, provided the majority of the partners of the firms are chartered accountants. Subsection 2 says that it is also possible to give appointment in the name of an LLP, that is limited liability partnership firm, only when the partners are chartered accountants. In essence, the most essential qualification or the most essential eligibility to be appointed as the auditor of the company, and here we are talking about the statutory auditor, not internal auditor. The qualification is chartered accountant. Right. Now coming to subsection 3, which talks about some disqualification, that who are disqualified to be appointed as auditor of the company. First disqualification is that a body corporate other than LLP. That means a body corporate, another company or another cooperative society kind of thing, cannot be appointed as auditor. Second disqualification is the officer and employee. Suppose someone is an officer in a company or he is an employee of the company, even if he is a chartered accountant, he cannot be appointed because of this disqualification. Understood? So an officer or employee of the company cannot be appointed. Third point, can you see it? Can you read the point C?
The person who is partner or who is in the employment of an office or employee of the company.
Right. A person who is a partner or who is in employment of an officer and employee of the company. To understand this thing, if somebody is a partner of an employee or partner of an officer of the company, that he cannot be appointed as the auditor. I am illustrating it with the help of this picture. Okay. If there is an officer or employee of the company, and this officer or employee has got a partner and employee, right? And this partner and employee cannot be appointed as auditor of the company. Are you getting what the provision say? Person who is a partner or who is in employment of an officer and employee of the company. That means no partner or no employee of an officer or employee of the company can be appointed as an auditor. Have you understood this particular provision?
Sir, this B and C I understood, sir. A point I have not understood, sir.
Which one?
First one. A.
A. A is the
Body corporate.
body corporate. Let us say body corporate means a body which is incorporated under law. Okay. For example, when you form a company, company is incorporated. So company becomes a body corporate. And here this says body corporate means a company cannot be appointed as auditor of another. A partnership firm can be appointed, an individual can be appointed, but a company cannot be appointed.
Okay.
Are you getting? Are you getting?
Sir, a little bit confused, sir.
Yes,
Actually.
Yeah, little bit confused. You might be thinking why a body corporate is not eligible to be appointed as auditor. Is it not? You see, this responsibility that auditing profession or the auditors take is a kind of personal responsibility. You know, company is a different person. It is different from its owners. Right? People behind the company can be different. And company itself cannot be held liable for this kind of activities like auditing activity. A partnership firm, you see partners and the firm are almost same. Isn't it? The responsibility of the firm also is the responsibility of the partners. In the company, same situation is not there. Therefore, body corporates are prohibited to be appointed as an auditor of another company. Right?
Okay,
Are you
sir.
getting? Are you getting? So
Sir,
you can see.
sir, body corporate is constituted as per limited liability partnership act, sir.
Limited liability partnership is the only kind of body corporate which is an exception. Right? Limited liability partnership is also a kind of partnership which is registered under Companies Act. Okay.
Sir.
Which is registered with MCA, but under Limited Liability Partnership Act 2008. It is registered under this act, but it is registered with Ministry of Corporate Affairs. Right. So body corporates cannot be appointed, but LLPs can be appointed. For appointment of LLP, separately also this subsection 2 also specifies that LLP can be appointed. Let me go back again.
The body corporates constituted under which provision, sir? Body corporate.
Okay, to understand the definition of the body corporate, we have to see the definition part in the Companies Act 2013. Okay, you have to see what is the exact definition. Exact definition, if you see, if I recall, I have to check it. In fact, if I recall, it means a kind of body which is incorporated under law, but it excludes certain kind of body corporates like cooperative societies, etc. are excluded. Right now, we'll understand that a body corporate means a company. Okay, and here, when I say the body corporate cannot be appointed, but I exactly mean the company cannot be appointed as auditor of another company.
Sir.
Okay.
The company cannot be appointed as an auditor of another company.
Another company. Exact meaning of body corporate, we'll look into the definition. We have to check up. You also check up. Maybe in the next class, I'll be also find out what is the exact definition of the body corporate. Then you'll be able to understand that.
But it is written that other than a limited liability partnership.
That means
body
corporate can be appointed, but a LLP, body corporate cannot be appointed, but a LLP can be appointed. We are talking about the disqualification. So this is a disqualification and this is an exclusion to the disqualification. So body corporate cannot be appointed, but LLP can be appointed. Are you getting?
Sir.
Or still some doubt?
Can a relative of the employee or CEO can be auditor?
You see,
Close relative.
You see, what is your question?
Can any relative of the employee of that company?
We'll be covering one by one. One by one we'll be covering. There are so many disqualifications. One by one we'll be covering whether a relative of a person who is an employee can be appointed or not. First, let us cover the list of disqualification. First disqualification, this particular disqualification, have you understood? The person who is a partner or who is in employment of an officer or employee of the company. That means there should be an officer and employee of the company. His partner or employee cannot be appointed as an auditor. Understood this provision?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now come to next part. Now what we are talking about the relatives, etc. Now let us cover here. A person who or his relative or partner. Okay, if somebody himself or his relative or his partner. Now these are the conditions it says. If these conditions are met, he cannot be appointed as an auditor. But the first condition, he is holding any security or interest in the company or its subsidiary or holding company or associated company or a subsidiary of such holding company. That means if someone is holding some security, let us say you are eligible to be appointed as an auditor, but you hold some security. You are holding the equity shares of that company. Then you are not eligible to be appointed as an auditor. So either you are holding, or your relative is holding, or your partner is holding. What they are holding? Any security. Not only in the company, either in the company, or in the subsidiary company, or in the holding company, or in the associate company. If someone is holding some security, then he is not eligible to be appointed as an auditor.
Sir, chartered
Security
accountant
means-
firms, sir, CA firms, associates, they are registered audit, sir. Partnership Act, yeah, limited liability.
Sorry, please repeat your question.
There's a group of CAs forming a group, forming one farm. Group of CAs, chartered
Yeah,
accountants forming
it can if a group of CA is forming a firm, that can be either a partnership firm or a LLP.
LLP firm. Yes.
Okay, so many times you might be saying the auditors' names are written like ABC and Co. or ABC and Associates. That means it can be an individual firm also, proprietorship firm also, it can be a partnership firm, or it can be an LLP, but it cannot be a company. It cannot be company. It can be proprietorship, partnership, or LLP. Proprietorship means
The
in its
difference
individual capacity, someone is practicing it.
The difference between LLB and partnership, sir? Is there any advantageous position? LLB and partnership. Partnership Act is generally, sir, it is under Partnership Act, sir.
Yeah.
But LLB
The
firm,
difference between LLP and partnership, the broad difference is that in case of partnership, the liability of the partners are unlimited. Okay.
20, sir.
No, that
Only
is one
20
thing. The
people
limited number of partners can be 20 under Partnership Act, and in some businesses like banking business, it can be only 10. Okay, so maximum number of partners under Partnership Act can be 20, but under LLP, maximum number of partners can exceed 20. That is one distinction. One more distinction is that the prime distinction between LLP and partnership firm is that partnership firm, in case of partnership firm, the liability of the partners are unlimited. Whereas in case of LLP, the liability of the partners are limited.
Sir.
Okay. Limited means just like a
Liability.
company. Just like a company, you know, we had discussed that concept earlier, how the liability of the members towards the company is limited. Same concept is applicable in LLP.
Number of persons more than 20. It can be more than 20
It
in
can be
LLP.
more than 20.
Sir. Okay, sir. Understood.
Okay. So first concept is that if the person is holding any security, then he cannot be appointed. If person is holding, or his relative is holding, or his partner is holding in this kind of company, he cannot be appointed as the auditor. However, there is one exception, that relative may hold security or interest in a company of face value not exceeding 1 lakh rupees. Okay. A person cannot hold any security if he is willing to be appointed as an auditor. But security can be held in the name of a relative, but provided the face value of the security does not exceed 1 lakh. Right. So that means relatives can hold security up to rupees 1 lakh. If someone is holding security up to rupees 1 lakh, he is not ineligible. He is still eligible to be appointed as an auditor. He means not about the relative, the person is eligible to be appointed as an auditor. Understood this point, or should I repeat it?
Sir.
Yes, sir.
So let me repeat it. Okay,
No,
you
no,
see,
no, understood.
not required, no? So if the person is holding any security, he cannot be appointed.
We understand, sir.
Okay. A relative can hold security up to 1 lakh. Now, next disqualification is that indebted to the company. That means either that person or his relative or partner is indebted to a company in excess of rupees 5 lakh. If he has taken some debt or some money is payable by him to the company in excess of rupees 5 lakh, then that person cannot be appointed to be auditor. Or if a person has given a guarantee or provided any security in connection with some indebtedness of any third person, okay, to the company, if the person has provided any guarantee or provided any security, right, in excess of value of rupees 1 lakh, then the same person cannot be appointed as auditor of the company, right? So person holding security cannot be appointed. One exclusion is that security can be held in the name of the relative up to 1 lakh. Person who is indebted up to rupees 5 lakh can be appointed, but is exceeding 5 lakh rupees, he cannot be appointed. Person who has given some guarantee and provided some security to the company up to rupees 1 lakh, he can be appointed as an auditor, but if it is in excess of rupees 1 lakh, he cannot be appointed as an auditor. Okay.
Sir, why an auditor will be indebted to the company, sir? He will
Sorry?
get his remuneration. Why indebted, sir?
Why indebted? Okay, he might have.
Yes.
Let us say we are giving you appointment. Let us say you are a chartered accountant. We are giving appointment of State Bank of India. You might have taken a loan from State Bank of India.
Oh, sir, correct, sir.
Right. If you have taken a housing loan, then you are ineligible. You cannot be appointed as an auditor.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So like this. Okay. Understood?
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Now, what is the meaning of relative? Meaning of relative. Relative with reference to a person means if they are the member of HUF, their husband and wife, and they are related in such a manner as may be prescribed. That means HUF members are relative, husband and wife are relative, spouses are relative, and they are related in the manner prescribed. In the manner prescribed means this is the manner in which all these people will be considered as the relative. Father, mother, mother includes stepfather, stepmother, son, son's wife, daughter, daughter's husband, brother, and sisters. These are the 8 kinds of relatives which is prescribed. Right? So considering everything, you have to see this is the least who can be called as the relatives. Member of Hindu undivided family, husband, wife, father, stepfather, mother, stepmother, son, stepson, son's wife, daughter, daughter's husband, brother, stepbrother, sister, stepsister. These are the relatives. Right? If any of these relatives is holding some security in excess of rupees 1 lakh, then the person cannot be appointed as auditor of the company. Is it clear? So I am showing you the 16
Yes, sir.
category of relatives, and this is the final list, exhaustive list.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Gaurav asked this question, sir. Relatives can be appointed or not?
Yeah, I understood.
You got the idea? Relatives can be appointed or not, that's a different question. You see, anybody can be appointed if he is a chartered accountant. But if he holds some security, he cannot be appointed. Or his relative is holding some security in excess of 1 lakh rupees face value, then they cannot be appointed. If he is indebted in excess of 5 lakh, they cannot be appointed. If they have given a guarantee in excess of 1 lakh, they cannot be appointed. So these are the conditions you have to see. Before appointing an auditor officer, let us say you have a company. Let us say you start with a company. Then how to appoint the auditor? You have to check these points. These are the legal aspects one have to go through.
Sir,
Okay,
how come they will verify the relatives as step brother, step son? How they will verify the company whether he is a stepson or a step brother? This can be even also missing, na sir.
Yes,
Suppressed.
you are right. You're right. So if you go by the appointment process, what happens? The auditor of the company before appointment, the proposed auditor gives a certificate that he is eligible to be appointed by auditor. And it is your responsibility to seek that certificate that he himself is eligible. So auditor will himself verify that whether he is eligible to be appointed auditor of this company or not. Okay,
Okay.
right. And what is the meaning of associate company? What is the meaning of subsidiary company? We have discussed in our earlier classes. Those videos are also available in the channel. You can find that. I am not covering that thing right now. Well,
Sir, holding company, associate company. Sir.
yeah. So in that context, we need to understand what is the meaning of holding company and associate company. Those slides are there. You can see it later on. Now, one more disqualification. A person or firm who directly or indirectly has business relationship with the company or its subsidiary or its holding company or associate company. Business relationship means, let us say you are a supplier to the company, right? You are a dealer of the company, or your firm is a dealer of the company. Then there is a kind of business relationship. So these people cannot be appointed. That is one more disqualification. Okay, but if it is if it is something, some kind of activity which is a transaction in the ordinary course of the business at arm's length price, then one can be appointed. Ordinary course of business, if you do some business transaction, suppose your company is producing toothpaste and in ordinary course of business you are using that toothpaste, it cannot be assumed that you have got a business relationship, you cannot be appointed as an auditor. No, it's not so. Right, because it is an ordinary course of business and at arm's length price, that the price at which you are buying toothpaste, everybody else is also buying toothpaste at the same price. So it is an arm's length transaction, it will not be considered as a business transaction. Okay. And there are certain transactions which are permitted under under the Chartered Accountants Act 1949. So these acts are permitted, even if that person is doing the similar kind of act, then it will not be considered as a business relationship. Suppose a person is a statutory auditor, but incidentally he is also the auditor under Income Tax Act. Then it cannot be assumed that he is the auditor under Income Tax Act, he has got a business relationship. Answer is no, because audit under Income Tax Act is one activity which is allowed under Chartered Accountants Act 1949. It is permitted for the auditor to carry out that activity also. Right. In these cases, it will not be assumed that the person is having business relationship. Otherwise, if some other kind of business relationship is there with the company, with subsidiary or holding or associate company, then the same person cannot be appointed as the auditor. Okay, understood?
Sir, shall I ask one question, sir?
Yeah, please.
Sir, if company is utilizing a service of a chartered accountant who is not the employee of that company,
right?
He is the chartered accountant, but
Right.
in that case, that employee can, that company can take him as auditor also. He is a chartered accountant for the same company.
If he is eligible, he can take it.
Okay.
Okay, but certain services are prohibited. Let us say what kind of services we have to think of. We will be covering what are the services which are prohibited. Right. Let us say he is already doing, he is in charge of accounting functions. That his responsibility is to prepare books of account. Then naturally he cannot be appointed as an auditor. That activity is prohibited. Okay, because you see, he has to maintain books of account. Can he comment on the maintenance of the books of account and the auditor? He himself is maintaining.
Oh.
Okay, so these are the activities.
Logically,
but let us say he is your tax auditor. He is auditor under Income Tax Act. Then no issue. He can be also appointed as auditor under Companies Act because this is permitted. So there are certain activities which are permitted, certain activities which are not permitted.
Sir, one doubt, sir. Whether the company registered under Companies Act, is it a mandatory provision that to give employment in the post of an auditor for a particular period, sir? Or it can hire
it is not.
on
It is
freelance
okay. Let me tell you, it is not an employment. Auditor is not an employee of the company, but it is mandatory for every company to get their accounts audited. Okay. So therefore, they have to appoint auditor, and he is not an employee; he is an outsider. His only job is to express an opinion on your financial statement. He will conduct your audit.
Another auditor different, sir. Each year different auditor. It can be permitted, sir.
It's possible, but auditor is normally appointed for 5 years. Okay,
5 years.
But if you want, you can change the auditor every year. Normal period is 5 years. We will be covering it when we will be covering appointment of the auditors. Right?
Sir, it is covered, sir.
Which one?
Early. Sir, it is
Earlier,
covered. Earlier auditors, yeah.
Acha. Okay. Now one more disqualification. A person whose relative is a director or in the employment of the company as a director or key managerial person. So if the person whose relative is a director or whose relative is a key managerial person, then the same person cannot be appointed as the auditor. Okay, to understand that thing, you see there is a person whose relative is a director or KMP. This person cannot be appointed as an auditor. Okay, if somebody is relative or director, a relative is a director, a relative is a key managerial person, then he cannot be appointed as an auditor. Okay. Should I move?
Yes, sir.
Who are the key managerial personnel? This is the list. CEO, MD, manager, company secretary, WTD, full-time director, CFO, and any other officers as may be prescribed under rules. Okay, these are the key managerial personnel. Then a person who is in full-time employment elsewhere. If somebody is in full-time employment elsewhere, he cannot be appointed as an auditor. And one more thing is that if the person is holding appointment as auditor of more than 20 companies, that means maximum one person can be appointed as auditor in 20 companies. No one can be appointed as auditor in 21 companies. What happens in the firm of chartered accountants? Let us say firm has got 2 partners, so 20 per partner. So 20, 40 audits maximum they can conduct, 40 companies. If there are 3 partners, then maximum 60 audits they can conduct. 60 company audits are possible. Okay. So on account of a single chartered accountant, maximum there can be 20 audits. The moment they hold 21, they are ineligible. Understood? So this is the maximum.
Yes, sir.
It's the maximum ceiling. Okay. So this 20 company ceiling is for every partner. Okay. And then one more disqualification. If the person is convicted of an offense involving fraud and 10 years has not elapsed from the date of conviction. If the person is convicted of fraud, then he is ineligible for 10 years from the date of such conviction. After 10 years expired, then he again becomes eligible. Understood? This is one more disqualification.
Yes, sir.
Acha. Next is that the person whose subsidiary, associate company, and other form of entity is engaged as in the date of appointment in consulting and some specialized services as provided under section 144. Just like before some time I was telling. So these are certain specialized services. If they are providing these services, they cannot be appointed as the other services. They can be appointed. You had a question that somebody is already dealing with a chartered accountant, whether he can be appointed. They cannot be appointed if they are providing services which are mentioned under section 144. Otherwise, they can be appointed. So we need to understand what is this 144 items. You see, these are the services which are not to be rendered by the auditor. One is accounting or bookkeeping services, internal audit, design and implementation of financial information system, actuarial services, investment advisory services, investment banking services, financial services, management services. If these kind of services someone is providing, he is not eligible to be appointed as an auditor. Because they have to comment on the auditor has to comment on the accounting aspect, internal audit aspect, actuarial valuation aspect, the financial information system. Okay, if the same person is doing, then it will not be fair on his part to give a comment on his own assignments. Is it not? So therefore, this thing has
Because he's an inspector.
yeah, sorry.
Because he's a supervisor or inspector, sir.
Yeah, he himself is doing accounting. He is doing internal audit. So how can he comment? So that person. So these are the activities. These are the services which are prohibited. Okay. Now having understood this, now quickly we will be covering this appointment part of the auditors. I think whether I had shown you this chart before, how auditors are appointed.
Sir.
I had shown. You had seen it earlier? Okay, quickly I am recapitulating. Okay. 139 deals with appointment of auditor. We have to understand the first auditor of the appointment. If it is not a government company, here we have to deal with other than government company. Here I will be showing you government company. Other than government company, first auditor is appointed by board of directors within 30 days from the registration of the company. Okay, if the company fails to admit, if company fails to appoint a auditor within 30 days, or the board fails to appoint within 30 days, then the members of the company in an extraordinary general meeting can appoint auditor within 90 days. Okay, and for government company, appointment has to be made by Comptroller and Auditor General of India within 60 days from the date of registration of the company. If C&AG fails, then board of directors will be appointed within next 40 days. If they also fail to appoint, then the members can appoint auditor within next 60 days in an extraordinary general meeting. And these auditors shall hold the office till the conclusion of the first AGM. That means from the date of registration, after date of registration, auditor is appointed. Then till the conclusion of the first AGM, this auditor will be holding the office. Understood how auditor is appointed?
Yes, sir.
How the first auditor is appointed? This is the first auditor. Now coming to subsequent auditor, other than company, other than a government company, that means for a normal company, private company, public company, they are appointed in a general meeting. That means members will appointing in the general meeting, and he holds the office from the first AGM to sixth AGM. That means for 5 years he has to hold office, from the first annual general meeting to sixth annual general meeting. And for a government audit, government company, if it is a subsequent audit, then appointment made by Comptroller and Auditor General of India within 180 days from the commencement of the year. So year starts from 1st April. Within 180 days, auditor has to be appointed and holds the office till the conclusion of AGM, till next AGM, that is for 1 year. So government company appointments are made for 1 year, and private other non-government company appointments are made for 5 years. Friend, time will not permit us to continue further today. So we'll stop here. We'll again catch up in our next class, maybe tomorrow, and we'll try to complete this legal aspects of the audit in
Unit 3.
class.